Good afternoon. South Africans are lining the streets of Gauteng to get their glimpse of the heroes and that William Webb Ellis Cup, also known as Bill. The Rugby World Cup trophy tour kicked off this morning in Pretoria and is currently making its way through Johannesburg and to Soweto a little later on. But that's not all. In the next couple of days, the team is going to make its way to Durban, to East London, to Port Elizabeth and then Cape Town. We have reporters at various locations in Johannesburg and Soweto at this hour. We'll go straight to them in just a moment, but sports editor Vata and Gobeni, along with Michael Marilia, are both with me in the studio. You guys have been hard at it for a long time now. You don't need to tell me since when. But for those of us who are just arriving at the broadcast today, it's been the most magnificent morning, hasn't it?
Jamie, I thought the 2nd of November was emotional, but today has been, out of this world. And fitting that it starts at the seat of government with the number one citizen saying to them, go out into the country, it's yours. I'll take a back seat. You've earned the right to be the leaders of this country. And they've made their way through the capital city, made their way through iconic venues and places within Pretoria that relate to rugby, but also relate to politics, but also the normal man and woman in the street. And that's what's, I think, been very, very touching, is the Springboks finally going back to their source of energy, to their support, and thanking the South Africans. And Sia mentioned this when they arrived. He says, it is the people of South Africa that gave us the belief and hope that we could actually win this trophy.
I like that phrase, source of energy, because they've said this time and time again, and particularly as we got to the latter stages of the tournament, whether it was the smattering of fans in Japan itself or the 57 million people here, that was really important. In many ways, it's that energy that pushed them over the line.
I think, Jamie, at a time where the entire rugby world did not even consider the Springboks. People spoke about the All Blacks, about England, about Ireland, and the Springboks were there and thereabout, until they got into the knockout stages. But then the Springboks had the support behind them. And that, again, came from Rassie Erasmus having taken over the team 18 months ago, making Sia Kolisi their captain, and these new faces and new energy being brought by guys who would die for the jersey. And that continued as a theme to this team, and they went to this World Cup believing only in themselves and having the support of their supporters.
Michael Marilia, what struck me today, having looked at the broadcast up until now, was that it wasn't just ardent rugby fans that turned out. It was people that saw something bigger than just the Rugby World Cup win.
Very much so, Jeremy. And if you look at the route that the Springboks are taking today, deeply symbolic of that. I mean, just look at where they're heading next. They'll be passing over Nelson Mandela Bridge, which of course connects northern Johannesburg, the affluent northern suburbs, with the southern part of the city, and ultimately onto Soweto. And some of the names that we'll be talking about a little bit later, the streets named after Lillian Ngoyi, Chris Hani, Vilakazi Street, of course, home to Madiba himself. And these are deeply symbolic of the kind of bridges that Nelson Mandela set up, metaphorically, symbolically speaking, as we look at part of that route actually coming up, Jeremy. And ultimately finishing up in Orlando and passing, of course, FNB Stadium as well. So I think this route symbolizing the journey that we've taken as a country.
I'm so glad you're referencing Nelson Mandela. It was the Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu who said straight after the victory that he was absolutely convinced that Madiba was looking down and smiling on two things: the Rugby World Cup win itself, but also what it has done again in terms of perhaps re-intensifying unity.
Absolutely, Jeremy. And you have to wonder, could you have seen these sorts of scenes that we've seen today, this morning, along the streets in any other country? I'll venture a guess, probably not in the UK if they had won the final.
Yeah, you had to get that in, didn't you?